Let's make clarified butter from scratch, in which you don't need any fancy equipment or talent to make. I love ghee because it has a nutty aroma and has more better flavor than butter. The one that we're making at home is just pure, so you can even store it for a year if you have stored it properly. And I can't tell you the benefits of cooking with ghee or cooking with clarified butter because it's just endless. So let's start with boiling raw milk. I've taken 2 liters of cow's whole milk, and you first boil it in high flame. You can cover it with a lid if you want on top, but you have to be careful because you have to remove it before it starts boiling. Once it starts to boil and looks like an erupting volcano, you can put the heat to simmer and let it cook for 10 minutes in low heat, which is good because you don't get a watery milk. Then you let it cool down and you should get a thin layer of cream like this on top of it after you let it cool down in room temperature. Then you can put it in the fridge and remove it after overnight. You'll get something like this. The cream will be all stuck and it will be like thick. And I'm using my hands. You can also use a strainer or anything, but I prefer my hands because I feel I can strain it better with my hands and I don't lose the cream inside the milk. So this cream that you see, it's not only for once. I have been collecting it over a week. So the reason why we put it in the fridge is so that we can get more amount of cream to solidify and float on top. The extra amount of fat that you see, that's the one that we are aiming for. Make sure to store the cream in the chilled section. And yes, my hands are properly clean before I touch the milk. It's the same kind of cream that you get in your supermarkets, written cooking cream. This is the same thing. And now we are going to use it to make butter out of it. This method is easy to separate the fat from the cream, or you can also use another method in which you have to whisk it in hands. But it takes 20 minutes, so we're using the blender to separate the cream from the fat. And also the amount of water, you can take 100 ml of how much amount of cream I have taken. And if you're putting all the cream together, you can use 200 ml. Then we start to blend. After it blends, it should look something like this when the butter and the milk have separated. And this is what it should look like. While blending, you will get to know when the butter and the milk have separated because the sound will be a bit different. When the milk looks like this, that means all the fats have been removed. We need to squeeze out all the excess water that is remaining. Heat up the cauldron at first. You can even use a cooking pot at low heat at first. Then you slowly turn on the heat to remove the water from the butter and you cook it. So this process will look like the butter is being turned into a clarified butter as you remove all the moisture or water from it. You also need to make sure that you don't leave the pan untouched, or you always need to stir it once in a while, because if you don't do that, it might get stuck down and it might get burnt, which will give the clarified butter a burnt smell instead of giving it a nutty aroma which you will love. And at this point, it should look like things are splitting up, like the fat and the excess cream. And it should look like something that has been split from the fat. So there you go, where the clarified butter has been separated from some kind of residue that was left. Like those are the kind of the crumbles that we're going to get at the end. Because this is the residue which doesn't contain any fat. So it gets separated from the butter. And this is now turning into clarified butter. As you can see, when this stage comes, when it starts bubbling, it will again become foamy. So that's when you know it's done and the crumble has also become brown. So that's when you stop the gas. It should look something like this and you're done. Let it cool down to a temperature of 30 to 35, like lukewarm temperature. You can store it in a glass or a stainless steel jar. The aroma is amazing. It's nutty flavor like always. Please subscribe to my channel if you want such content like this. Share with all your ghee-loving friends or clarified butter. Give it likes, and it should look something like this after the end. And remember to stay hungry.